Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into the mechanics of the absolute ultimate luxury asset. We're talking about a phenomenon where leather handbags, yes, handbags, sell for more than luxury sports cars. And get this, they appreciate in value faster than a lot of traditional investments at auction. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for exceptional pieces, with a few rare ones crossing the $1 million mark, literally over $1 million. So how did a simple leather bag become one of the world's most valuable assets? Well, spoiler alert, it's not actually about fashion. It's hands down one of the greatest masterclasses in branding, craftsmanship, and scarcity we've ever seen. Section 1. The Ultimate Luxury Paradox. Okay, let's dive into this by putting ourselves in a highly specific, high-stakes scenario. Imagine walking into this pristine, beautifully lit luxury boutique. You've got 50 grand, $50,000 sitting in your bank account, and you are ready to buy one of the most famous handbags on the planet. You aren't haggling, you aren't asking for a discount, you're ready to pay in full, right on the spot. And yet, the sales associate looks you dead in the eye and says, no. Not because it's sold out in the back room, not because your card declined, but simply because you haven't earned the right to buy it. Which brings us to the central mystery of our explainer today. Why refuse the sale? I mean, for basically every business on earth, turning away a customer who is actively trying to hand you tens of thousands of dollars sounds frankly absurd. It breaks every rule of modern retail, right? But for Hermès, as we'll uncover, it's the very foundation of their genius. It might actually be one of the smartest business decisions ever made. Section 2. From saddles to icons. So to crack this mystery, we have to rewind a bit. Long before Hermès was the final word in luxury handbags, it had a completely different gig. Back in 1837, we're talking before cars were even a widespread thing, Thierry Hermès set up shop in Paris to build the finest saddles, harnesses, and equestrian gear for European aristocrats and royalty. From day one, Hermès wasn't trying to compete on price. They competed purely on absolute perfection. Fast forward, transportation changes, and they expand into luggage and leather goods. Then, in the 1930s, they drop what would become known as the Kelly bag, which absolutely exploded after Princess Grace Kelly of Monaco was snapped holding it. Then, 1984 hits, and another legend is born, literally by accident. Hermès executive Jean-Louis Dumas is on a flight, sitting right next to actress Jane Birkin. She's struggling with this completely overstuffed bag. They start chatting about the need for a practical but elegant luxury bag, and boom. Dumas sketches what becomes the Birkin. Almost overnight, demand just skyrockets. Celebrities, executives, collectors, everyone had to have one. Section 3. The pace of craftsmanship. Now, most companies, if they hit that kind of cultural jackpot, they'd instantly ramp up production, crank out as many as possible, right? But Hermès fundamentally rejects the whole assembly line model. Many of their artisans spend years, literally years, of intense training just mastering leatherworking before they're even trusted with the prestigious stuff. Then, instead of chopping the work up into a production line, one single artisan is assigned to a specific product. That one person builds the entire bag from start to finish. And this brilliantly illustrates why supply is intentionally bottlenecked. The mandate here is simple, but incredibly powerful. Protect the pace of craftsmanship. Listen, Hermès could easily just build massive factories. They could hire thousands of workers tomorrow and flood the market to cash in on the demand. But choosing not to do that is exactly what guarantees their flawless consistency. It's the whole reason those legendary waiting lists even exist. Customers will happily wait years just for the chance to buy a specific bag. Section 4. The Scarcity Principle. So this fierce protection of the craft caused a massive psychological shift. People actually stopped asking if they could afford a bag and started asking if Hermès would even offer them one. We can anchor this wild allure in a well-known concept from behavioral economics, the scarcity principle. Experts define this as our tendency to value things way more when access is limited. You know the drill. The harder something is to get, the more deeply desirable it becomes. Hermès basically took this exact principle and turned simple scarcity into pure, undeniable status. Walking in with a stack of cash rarely works. Sales associates prioritize long-term clients with a real history. The purchase itself became the exclusive part. And the wild part? Hermès pulled this off without relying on flashy marketing campaigns. Unlike a lot of their rivals, they spent next to nothing on celebrity endorsements. Why? Because the customers themselves became the marketing. Every waiting list sparked a conversation. Every near-impossible purchase created a story that the buyer just had to share with their friends. Every rare bag became ultimate social proof. You weren't just carrying around a perfectly stitched leather anymore. You are carrying around a symbol of exclusive access, and that distinction changes the game completely. Thanks to this flawlessly executed scarcity, something even crazier happened. The resale market totally exploded. Collectors figured out that these bags held on to extraordinary value. Limited editions, rare leathers, that crazy craftsmanship, it drove prices exponentially higher. Actually, studies show that rare Birkins have historically outpaced the S&P 500 and even the price of gold and annual returns. Let that sink in. Auction houses started treating them exactly like fine art. It completely flipped buyer behavior. People weren't just buying fashion anymore, they were securing a highly sought-after collectible.
Section 5. The power of restraint.
So, when demand and resale values go straight to the moon, what's a company to do? Well, Hermès' response was absolute unyielding discipline. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how heavily it contrasts normal corporate hypergrowth against Hermès' long game. Public companies usually get rewarded for maxing out quarterly sales, outsourcing to cut costs, and frantically chasing whatever is trending this season. Hermès goes in the exact opposite direction. They consistently prioritize preserving the brand over a quick short-term revenue bump. They maintain strict vertical integration, and they design pieces meant to be just as hot generations from now as they are today. Let's break down that vertical integration strategy for a second. While a ton of fashion brands outsource massive chunks of their manufacturing, Hermès keeps a tight grip on it. They invest incredibly heavily in their own leather workshops. They train their own artisans internally. They source premium materials with borderline obsessive care. Sure, maintaining this kind of control is staggeringly expensive, but it completely guarantees uncompromising quality at every single stage of the game. And here is the absolute crucial takeaway. Luxury isn't built through availability. It is built through absolute restraint. The leadership at Hermès gets something most businesses totally miss. Every single new handbag they put out into the world slightly dilutes the rarity of every handbag already out there. By refusing to drastically bump up supply, Hermès isn't just protecting future customers, they're protecting their existing ones. That extreme restraint is what builds unparalleled loyalty. Collectors know for a fact that the company will never trade away exclusivity for some rapid, cheap growth spurt. Which brings us to this incredibly powerful realization from the source material. They don't simply buy a Birkin, they pursue one. Honestly, that hits the nail on the head. Almost 2 centuries of accumulated prestige, reputation, and sheer discipline mean that a Hermès bag is so much more than leather and thread. It's heritage, it's patience. The intense pursuit itself has literally become the ultimate product. So we'll wrap up this explainer with a final, provocative thought for you to chew on. In a world totally obsessed with producing more, selling more, and expanding faster than ever, what is the true value of patience? Sure, skilled manufacturers can easily copy a beautiful leather bag, but they absolutely cannot replicate nearly 2 centuries of trust that's compounded over generations. Hermès became legendary by refusing to compromise what made them special in the first place, proving that extreme discipline and heritage will always outlast a seasonal trend. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. Take a moment to ponder the power of restraint, and I hope this gave you a really clear, engaging look into the ultimate luxury paradox.